The heartland of America stretched wide and endless, a patchwork of golden fields and deep green pastures under a sky that seemed to go on forever. Out here, life was honest but hard. Every sunrise carried promise, and every sunset told the tale of another day's labor. It was in this world, tucked along a gravel road that cut through fields of corn and wheat, that a struggling single father named David lived with his young daughter Emily. David was 36, tall and strong, but worn down by the storms of life. His hands were rough with calluses, his back ached from years of lifting and hauling. But the weight he carried most was not on his shoulders, it was in his heart. Since the passing of his wife 3 years earlier, he had been raising Emily on his own. She was only 9, bright-eyed with laughter that could soften even the hardest day. David lived for her, sacrificing every comfort so she could grow up safe, loved, and hopeful in a world that sometimes felt unforgiving. Work came when it could. Some weeks were lean, others even leaner. David was a mechanic by trade, able to fix almost anything with wheels or an engine, but steady jobs were scarce. Instead, he took odd repairs, tractors, trucks, combines, whatever neighbors or farmers around the county could afford to pay him for. It wasn't glamorous, but it kept food on the table and gas in the truck, and that was enough. One chilly autumn morning, just as the first light spilled across the horizon, David loaded his dented pickup truck with tools. Word had spread that Henry, a farmer whose land stretched far beyond what the eye could see, was in trouble. His main tractor had broken down right in the middle of harvest season. For a farmer, a broken tractor wasn't just an inconvenience, it was a ticking clock. Every lost hour threatened crops worth thousands. Every day the machine sat silent, Henry's livelihood slipped further out of reach. Henry was known across the community as a proud, hardworking man in his late 50s. He rarely asked for help. Years of farming had made him self-reliant, even stubborn, but desperation had forced him to make a call. And David, never one to turn away a neighbor in need, answered it. With Emily beside him in the passenger seat, clutching a worn sketchbook she carried everywhere, David drove down the gravel road until Henry's farm came into view. The land spread wide, golden fields stretching under the sun. A red barn standing tall, though its paint was faded with age. In the middle of the yard sat the broken tractor, large, silent, a steel giant brought to its knees. Henry stood near it, arms crossed over his chest, hat low on his forehead. His eyes narrowed as David pulled up, studying the younger man, maybe doubting whether this single father with a little girl in tow could handle the job. But then Emily jumped out of the truck, her smile bright, and offered a cheerful wave. Henry's stern face cracked just a little. "A morning," David said, stepping forward, toolbox in hand. "All morning," Henry replied, his voice gravelly, worn by years in the sun. He gestured toward the tractor. She just gave out yesterday. Won't even turn over, tried what I knew, but..." David nodded, rolling up his sleeves. "I'll take a look." He crouched beside the machine, running his hand along its steel frame as though listening to its silent story. Emily followed closely, eager to help, while Henry stood a few feet back, skeptical but watchful. Hours passed. The sun climbed higher, pouring heat across the yard. David worked with steady focus, loosening bolts, checking fuel lines, pulling apart pieces of the engine. Sweat dripped from his brow, but he didn't complain. Emily fetched wrenches and screwdrivers for him, proud to play the role of assistant. From time to time, Henry brought water, watching more carefully now, his suspicion giving way to respect. It was the story of resilience, of a father's devotion to his child, of a farmer's pride, and of the unspoken brotherhood found in America's fields. Out here, where the soil runs deep and the skies run wide, men like David and Henry remind us that even in life's hardest seasons, hope can still be harvested. This story is shared with you from Timeless Story Lane, where every tale carries the spirit of endurance, love, and the bonds that shape our lives.